Hey, everybody out there in Cryptid Land. Me and my buddy Dirty have a very special guest on the show tonight. Her name is Kay Golden, and she is an alien abductee. And I'm telling you, her encounter will make the skin on your arms crawl. It's a scary, scary encounter, and I believe her 1000%. And I'm telling you, you guys are going to dig it. So stick around and join us tonight on the Cryptid Quest Podcast.
Before anything like that would happen or hit by a lightning bolt.
Yeah. So do you think that this ever took place earlier in your life and you just don't remember it maybe?
Oh, I have pretty good recall on some things, and some things that I look at now and go, that explains what that was all about. So
yeah,
I used to walk around at night
hindsight
a lot
yeah.
and look up at the stars, just walk by myself. I'd get out of bed and go walk. And I don't know if my parents knew it or not, but I was a teenager doing that. And it was before I met my husband, which we met in high school. And that's another thing. When we met in high school, we were both working with the kids that came through. There were elementary kids that came through to this classroom that we had set up all the planets and everything. NASA photos of the moon, Saturn, everything, the sun, all that. All over them little dioramas and things like that we had in there, and some pretty cool optical illusions. So we had all that set up in there, and that's how we ended up being together, because we were both running that class. I think he was a junior and I was a senior at the time, I think.
Yeah.
And we had the planetarium too. So that's how we ended up meeting, and that's what we did. And we used to look up at the stars all the time. Now, I don't do that anymore. I have horses, and so when I have to go out at night and check them, or if I just feel like I should go check them, I go out and I'm just going, okay, I'll take my iPhone sometimes because I know I'm going to get a picture of something, and I do. I have some really good photos from both the other place, not Diamond Bar because I didn't have an iPhone back then, but over where we used to live in Colorado, and then where we live now on our property here in Eastern Colorado. Well, I have some pretty cool pictures. But anyway, the stuff, it follows you, and people say it shouldn't follow you, but I'm like, well, I don't know. And then people say, well, do you have an implant? And I'm like, I don't know. I think I do. Because of that, right, I think. And the fact that when we were still in Diamond Bar, I think it was June or July of 2018, I went to the optometrist for my checkup and new glasses, and they said that I had a burn on the optical nerve behind my right eye.
Well, that's strange.
Yeah.
And that was right after
that was after that one incident I told you about, the bright operating room light thing. Yeah.
Oh wow.
Yeah. And then was it 6 months later, I think, or 7 months later, we were back in Colorado. We only stayed down there for 18 months for my husband's job. Then we came back to Colorado, and had another exam eyes, and they said the left one had a burn on the
Huh.
Yeah. So yeah, some strange stuff. Whether they and I have I shocked a what do you call it, a psychiatrist in Denver, because I had to go there for something. I can't remember. Oh, my doctor. They wanted me to they wanted me to get my head examined.
Yeah.
Because I told my own doctor what was going on, and I told him by way of letter to Linda Moulton Howe. I said, I want you to read this. I said, if you never want to speak to me again or have me as your patient, that's fine. I understand. But I said, I'm sending this to Linda Moulton Howe, and I wanted you to see it. This is what's been happening, and it's been killing me, and I don't know what to do. And he believes in spirits and ghosts and demons and all of that. So he didn't have a problem believing what I put in the letter to her. And he put in my files encounters in my health file. So I thought that was nice of him.
Yeah.
Yeah. But that was an interesting thing for him to do that.
I mean, I believe this is happening to people. This has been going on since as far as you remember, since 2017.
So yeah, it was September of 2017. It
And
was Labor. That was the morning after Labor Day. Yeah,
oh wow,
yeah,
wow. So
because
your
that's when my husband
anniversary
had
is
to start
coming
that
up.
new job with
Holy
the
cow.
government contractor. Yeah,
That's scary. So how many times do you remember since then? Uh, or have you lost track?
I've lost track.
Oh no.
So at
Oh,
least I would say, and it's always the most bizarre ones that, and you think when it
stick
happens, it
out.
is the most bizarre one until something else bizarre happens.
Oh
So
wow.
one of the other ones, when we were living at the other house in Colorado, was a little bit later. I think it was 2022, and I think it was, oh, that was the helicopter. That was the helicopter. Yeah. So that might have been 20. It was during COVID. So
Okay.
I'm out there at the ranch where my horses were boarded, and I had two at the time, and nobody's around. And it's not a big boarding facility, but there is a house there with people who work the ranch who live in that house, and usually there's cars there and people in the house. And usually you see bicyclists going down the dirt road past the ranch, because it heads out to a big trail, big long trail, and
Mhm.
bicycles like that. And then there's another ranch, and cows, and another family over here. And I was just out there brushing my horse's tail, my mare's tail, and out of the corner of my eye, I see probably not more than 40 yards away, just over the edge of the roof of one of the sheds, horse loafing sheds, uh, a helicopter. Okay. But it was flying really low. And I'm trying to figure out, why is there a helicopter over the property? Now, there's a highway over there. It could be over the highway. That'd be fine. And sometimes they do that. But this didn't look like that. This looked like a dark helicopter. And it seemed like it just popped up out of nowhere. I swear to God. And it's coming closer and closer and closer to my vicinity and the horses. And I'm brushing my mare and I'm watching this going, holy crap. And it comes over and it goes over the top. It's only 20 feet to the top of the barn, the one barn that's on the ranch. And they're right above the roof. I mean, had they been any lower, they would have been on the roof, and that barn wouldn't have been able to handle that. That was an old barn. So they're up there. And I'm looking, and I'm just flabbergasted. I'm dropping the brush, and I'm going, what is going on? Okay. And I'm thinking, my dad flew airplanes. Airplanes have markings on them. Airplanes have numbers on the tail, right? So I'm
Yeah.
thinking, okay, numbers. You've got to get the
Yeah.
number.
Yeah.
Something's not right. Didn't look like a military helicopter. It didn't look like a Black Hawk or anything like that. And God knows I know the sound of those. But it was dark all the way around. It was dark. I couldn't even see through the windows. And I'm looking and I'm going, what in the heck are they doing over the barn? And I say they, it could have been one person. It could have been nobody. Could have been AI, who knows?
Yeah.
But it came off the barn or off that area and started coming towards us. It came down, it went up 20 feet. It was not more than 13 feet off the ground at any given
Holy
time. It was in
cow.
front of us. Scared the crap out of me. My
I
horses,
bet.
I know, and they weren't snorting or anything, which really kind of bothered me, because horses are prey animals and they will react to things like that don't belong in their area. And especially my gelding, he's like, no, that doesn't belong. But he wasn't snorting or pawing or anything, which was scaring me. So I'm looking at this thing going, it's totally dark blue, dark black, no numbers on it at all. I'm looking at the bottom, I'm looking at the sides. It's coming closer and closer. It tilts itself. So the propellers are going like this. And I'm thinking to myself, and I put it in the book, okay, that's a dirt and gravel road right in front of us. I mean, that's 8 feet out in front of my horses and me right now. They aren't further than 10 feet back from that. That's how close that thing was. And it's tilting. And I'm thinking, this is a kamikaze military pilot. He's lost his mind and he's trying to kill me. He's pointing those damn blades. You know how they tilt it and they
Uh-huh.
try to move? That's what was happening. Well, I'm thinking I should be sprayed by gravel and rocks and all of this. And we weren't getting
Yeah.
sprayed by anything. And I wasn't feeling anything. There was no wind
Wind.
from this.
Yeah, and
And
there should be a tremendous amount of wind, especially being
that's
that
what I
low.
that's what I thought. So
Yeah.
that was, I was just mouth hanging open, probably drooling, and sitting here going, why aren't my horses freaking out? Why am I freaking out? I'm freaking out because there's no numbers on this thing at all.
Yeah.
No numbers, nothing to mark it, and I can't see through the windows. I'm kind of going, there's a human down here. Hello, please
Yeah.
don't do this. And I I don't know what happened. I think I just put my head on my mare's back and thought, okay, this is it. This is the end. This, whatever's happening, this is real, and I'm not going to be alive. Something's not right here. And then I look up, and it's gone. It's gone, completely gone.
You got visited by the men in black, but they didn't come in a car. They came in a helicopter, sounds
no.
like. And that's not a joke.
That's not a joke, no, because I had
No.
been talking to Linda for a while already, and I know that she says her phones are tapped. So who
Yeah.
knows?
Oh my gosh.
But
Yeah. Well, you get a helicopter, it's got to have those numbers.
right. And there's got to
Yeah,
be
'cause I
wind.
know.
Those propellers are moving. There's got to be some
Yeah.
wind I'm feeling. There was nothing. And the horses were panicking. None of the horses were panicking. So I either was seeing an optical illusion, a hologram of some sort, which would really be bizarre.
Do you think that, and I mean, this is just something I thought of right now. Do you think that since the aliens were messing with like your eyes and everything else, that possibly maybe they could put these thoughts in your head to
It's
where you're
possible.
actually think you're seeing it and it's not
It's
really there?
possible. I won't discount that at all. Like I
Yeah, I
said,
don't know.
they can pull things out, they can put things in, they can manipulate people. And they're manipulating
Huh.
people at the very top.
And you were hearing this helicopter too. You just weren't seeing the wind and everything.
Right.
Wow.
Right. But the weird thing, well, that was totally weird.
Yeah.
But the fact that it was, I just looked up, the dang thing's gone. And I'm looking and I'm looking and I'm looking and I'm not seeing it anywhere. And it couldn't have gone that fast. I mean, they just don't go that fast.
No.
So that was another really freaky experience.
Yeah.
And I asked my neighbors later on when and the people at the house, I said, were you home? No, we weren't home. Asked all the ranch people, why didn't you go to the ranch that day? Oh no, I couldn't make it. I'm like, but it was a nice day. It was a really pleasant August day when that happened. And I figured lots of people would be at the ranch trying to ride their horses, even though it was like I think it was a Monday or Sunday. Mm-hmm. And I don't know. You're right. It could be something that, who knows? They push a button and that you see something.
Yeah.
Who knows?
Well, I'm not saying that is exactly what happened to you, because I mean, honestly, I believe that the men in black are out there, and I'm not saying that's who was in the helicopter. It might have been them damn aliens trying to mess with you or something too. I don't know, but something definitely happened.
Yeah. So that was that encounter, which was freaky to say the least. And I did tell my family about that. I said, hey, there was a helicopter that tried to attack me at the ranch.
Oh,
and
man.
I told my ranch friends about it, and they said, you're kidding me. I said, no. And then they kind of dropped it, and I was like, okay.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. That was bizarre, but it didn't happen. And I did call. I called Buckley Air Force Base or Air Force Station, and I said, just out of curiosity, you guys wouldn't happen to have a dark helicopter that's unmarked that, was flying over an area that has horses and people that ride them, a private ranch, and the guy on the phone was really nice. He said, no, ma'am. He goes, anything we have would be marked. Point blank, period.
Yeah.
Okay. And I called Fort Carson, same thing, because they Army helicopters, and Black Hawks and all that. And they said the same thing. Nope, they'd be marked. Mm-hmm. So very bizarre.
Wow, that is
very bizarre.
So go ahead. I'm sorry.
It's okay. So that was, I think, August of 2020, and then in 2021, my dates, I've had so many of these. 2022 or 2021, I had the and I think it was June, I had the most crazy experience in our master bedroom. And it was going to bed again, 11:30 at night after checking all the doors and everything. And the high-pitched tone. So whenever something's going to happen, and it could be something as simple as me picking up my iPhone to go outside and take a picture, I get a high-pitched tone in my right ear every time. Go out on the back deck, they're there. And I have daytime pictures of them being there in a thunderstorm in my book. It's not a great picture in the book because it's just the way it is in the book.
Yeah.
But I posted it on Facebook a couple of times and people went, whoa, look at all those crafts. I said, yeah, if you count them all, there's 10. But the one that I focused on when I blew it up was one that looks like a top hat, a saucer. And that was over our back deck at our other house in Colorado. And I think that was a thunderstorm in May of 2023. I think when that happened. It might have been 24, but I think it was 23. But yeah, but I get that tone. So this particular night, I think it was July of 2022, I'm going to go to bed. I just put the cats to bed and all that, and walking upstairs with my glass of water, and I hear the tone in my ear. And I haven't reached the top step. And there's like a little 7 steps up, and then there's a landing, and then you go another 7 steps up. And I'm going, okay, nah, I'm too tired. I'm just going to go to bed. Because there's a point where you go, whatever, I'm going to bed.
Yeah. Especially after it's been happening for the last 4 years, you're probably starting it with bad things, but getting accustomed to it.
Oh my God. But this is what happens. So you ignore it, or I ignored it. And I was thinking, okay, don't want to sleep in the guest bedroom because he's got to go to work in the morning. Husband's got to go to work. Don't want to be in the master bedroom, and just go ahead and deal with that. And I think I was having to argue with myself, and I thought, okay, well, I'll go to the guest bedroom and go to sleep. So this was another time where I went into the master bedroom to get my little soft socks for my feet and, get my pajamas, wash my face and all that, brush my teeth, get ready for bed. And then I ended up getting in that bed instead of going to the guest bedroom. Okay, so I go to sleep, and then I'm awakened by vibration. First and foremost, that vibration starts in the head and it starts progressing through the body. There's nothing painful about it. It's just a little scary. And I'm going, no. And then I'm sitting up. I am sitting up. I'm awake. I'm right here. There's a Zeta Grey right here by our front of where our master bedroom window should be, but it's not there. There's a swirling vortex or portal right here. It colors, tendrils of purple, blue, light, whatever it is. I'm going to say light. It couldn't be smoke. It had to be light. It was blocking out 90% of that window. I'm looking over. My husband's dead asleep, totally dead asleep in the bed. And the Zeta Grey is half in and half out of this vortex. And he's offering his left hand to me to get me out of bed. And I'm going, I'm not going in there. I'm not going in there.
Yeah.
You can't make me go in there. Oh yeah, you're going in there. I mean, I'm hearing it in my head. You must come. Basically, Kay, you must come. So I have to go, and we go zip right through this thing. And it was like a little electrical field. It wasn't very long. It was very short. So we just go right through it. The lights everything's going around, but it's almost like smoke tendrils kind of going around as you're passing, but it was really quick. And then the pulling and the vibration kind of stopped. And I'm in this big, huge white warehouse, huge room, totally white. And I'm being led over to this strange apparatus, which is, best way I can describe it, this tall, great big, huge rectangle of a tower. And it has a rotating arm, 4 rotating arms on it. And each of those arms has a table on it. Each of those tables turn individually also. And it makes a horrible noise. It's like a really high-pitched grr sound, like really high-pitched, horrible to the ears. And then a really low clank, 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 clank sound as the tables are turning. So it's grr for the machine and clank, 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 clank. It's very, very old school for an advanced civilization. So I don't know where I was, if this was an dimension, if this was a craft, or if this was a warehouse somewhere, or a true warehouse. Maybe it was my lab. I don't know. But so I'm walked over by this little Zeta Grey over to this table. The machine stopped, table's laying there, and I'm being told in my head, you have to get on the table, basically by the tall gray. And little Zeta Grey escort put me on table, and I'm strapped down, wrists, ankles, and by the way, no clothes. And I noticed that there's two other tables, and there's two other people. There's a gal and there's an older man with kind of grayish hair, and the gal had like long brown hair. And they were also strapped on the tables. So I was on the bottom, the old man was here, and the gal with the brown hair was over here. I think that's right. So when we turned and he was making the bad sound, I was up here and he was down here. So I think that's right. But it's all white. I'm on the table. I can see down through my toes. And I'm thinking, dear God, what is this? And I didn't like the sound that it made. That was horrible. And it starts up and it does that really high pitched sound, and then the clank, clank, clank as the arms go around. And then the table turns for different positions. And I was getting warm. I felt like I was being barbecued on a spit. No joke. And I don't know what they were doing to me, but through my toes, when I was upright and I could see through my toes about 25 feet across to the other side of this warehouse looking room, everything's white. There is a control area. I'm assuming that's what it is. It looked like clear glass or translucent glass, and whatever was on there. And then there was a hunched over looking being in a dark green material, velvet, soft something. It was flowing, cloak, hood. So he's totally covered, but he's got this hunch on the back. And all I see from my toes is it is at an angle, and I see this weird looking bent, jointed arm coming out of part of the cloak with these weird looking like a praying mantis.
Oh, okay. Okay.
So
Yeah.
jointed like an insect, right?
Yeah. Like
I'm going,
this instead of like this.
Oh dear God, right? Oh dear God. And what is this? And then, so I'm being turned around, barbecued on a spit. I'm nauseous because of this. I don't know what they were trying to do to me, but I gather that it was some sort of test, and that being was at that control area handling or looking for the feedback. And especially after they attached the wires to the back of my head. And again, that sounds kind of low tech, right? But they did. I got 4 wires attached back here, and I still have some marks back here from that.
Oh, wow.
So 2 looked like copper, and 2 were really thin white wires. When they did, the Zeta Grey had me sit up so they could do that. And so it must have been monitoring my responses, and the other 2 on the table. And the poor guy, every time we went around, he sounded like he was just going to die. He was miserable. Man. And I wanted to help, but what could I do? I mean, I'm sitting there strapped to a table just like they are.
Yeah.
But so yeah, I think that was a mantis being, and I think that was the same being that I saw on the craft that night with the
went by real quick.
Yeah, that zipped by because it was the same dark green looking, blurry but dark green cloak. And so that was, and then when my table turned, and I was able to face left towards where the vortex came through, the vortex was still there, or the portal spinning. And I could see straight through it to our master bedroom. I kid you not. Oh my God. And I just went, oh, I can get off this table and I can go run through the portal and be back in the bedroom. Right. And that's what I'm thinking.
Yeah.
But of course, the table doesn't stop for a little while. And then when I'm finally taken off the table, little Zeta Greys escorting me to the portal. And but before that happened, on the table, before they let me go, this was it this arm? I think it was the right arm. Yeah. So this little niche flat area popped out of the side of that table, and it had some sort of cutting instrument on it over my arm. So they did something where they punctured my arm a lot really fast. It was sharp, but it was painful. It shot, I think it was up here. But anyway, it shot through my whole arm, just made my arm on fire and made it useless. So, yeah, not a kumbaya situation. So I'm being walked back to this portal, this vortex with the little Zeta Greys accompanying me. And I just filled with anger and fuming and disgust and this whole situation. And my right arm was useless. So I just cocked back with my left arm, whacked it, and it went over like basically like a little bowling pin, and I walked through the vortex back into the bedroom. I had enough. I just had enough. Oh my God. And I'm laughing, and it was not a laughable situation, but
Yeah, I'm sure you weren't laughing at the moment.
I got in the bedroom and I turned around and the vortex is gone. Everything's back to normal in the room. I go downstairs and make a pot of coffee.
Oh, man.
Oh, Lord. So that was another really bizarre ass experiment. Now I'm saving the last two. I'm not going to tell you because they'll be in the next book.
There you go.
But some more bizarre stuff has happened. And I'm talking to a nuclear physicist friend of mine who's out at Stanford. He's finishing his the doctorates. Mm-hmm. So he graduates, I think, pretty soon here. So he's been kind of instrumental. I kind of go back and forth with him on some things that are happening. He goes, that makes sense because this is what's happening. This is what we're hearing, blah, blah, blah. Whoa. So I kind of have an inside scoop. And then when I talk to Linda about it, Linda Moulton-Howe, same thing. She's like, you've got a really good tuning fork on this. And I said, well, I don't know what it is. I said, I'm just telling everybody this is what's happening. And, people talk about being awakened. And I kind of laugh because I'm like, well, some of these people talk about these, and I'm not trying to upset anybody, but my take on this is not a good thing. These beings, these particular Greys are not nice. They will hurt you. They will use you. They will do things to you for their ultimate purpose, period. But there are people who've had benevolent encounters with different Greys, and that's great. And then there's people who talk about light beings, and that's great too. But they're not all the same. And so you can't sit there and say, well, why don't they come down and show themselves and let's drink coffee together and kumbaya and all of that. And I'm sitting here going, now, wait a minute. You've got a bunch of different beings. And it's not just the Greys. You've got the Pleiadians. You've got the Nordics. You've got the bad species out in space that we're hearing a little bit more about now. Not necessarily, it's not going to be on the mainstream news. But it's cringing to me how people can say, oh, you've got to be awakened. You've got to be totally spiritual about this. Well, I'm not saying I'm not spiritual. I think I am, but I'm not, I'm not into, what do you call it? Rubbing bowls, crystals.
Yeah. Crystal balls and things like that.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, some people like doing that, and that's great if it works for them. But I mean, like the CE5 contact that Dr. Stephen Greer, talks about and is very adamant about, and other people that I've met in that realm, they're able to use their mind to get this light being to come down. And I'm thinking, well, okay, but I'm not trying to use my mind to get anything to come down. But when you've been taken once or twice, whatever, I think something gets sort of awakened in your brain that lets you have some sort of new ability. So my new ability is that I can get these strange downloads in the morning. It doesn't happen all the time. It's just once in a while. All of a sudden I'll hear my name, Kay. And then all of a sudden it'll just be really fast. Like I'll be on a ship, a big Navy ship, for example, off the coast of Virginia, and there'll be something down in the water, and it's really fast, and I'm just there observing. But so I'm getting these little strange downloads every now and then, and that was the last one. So I'm on a Navy ship off the coast of Virginia, and I'm looking down at the water, and there's something glowing really brightly down there, and then it's like really quick. It's between the time of being asleep and actually being fully awake. So I call it the cosmic zone, for lack of a better description. But it happens probably 6 times a year, roughly. I get these strange downloads.
So when you say download, it's like an image they're putting in your head.
Yeah. So Linda Moulton-Howe, she calls it more of a in your mind's eye type of thing. But I told her, well, it only happens during that time.
Yeah.
And I said, so to me, it feels like I'm being manipulated somewhat from up there, again, with these little tricky, cryptic messages. So, okay, why are you putting me on a Navy ship, having me watch this? What is the point of this? And I never get an answer. That's frustrating, by the way.
I'm sure.
Very frustrating. I've had the tall gray take me up in a craft over our old house in our old neighborhood, and I could see everything. And he's pointing to my husband's ham radio antenna on the roof and saying, basically, that there's a message I'm supposed to broadcast, and I would know when. And I don't know anything about ham radio stuff. I don't. And now we don't have it anymore. We're at the new property, and he doesn't have it. But I think I told him about that. And I said, I don't know how to operate a ham radio. He says, well, you could learn. But I said, but isn't that bizarre? I mean, he actually took me up just to tell me and point at our roof and say, that is something you need to know. So, yeah, some very weird and cryptic messages. And that's not.
I don't like the sound of that one, because a ham radio is usually going to come around if the end of the world's getting ready to happen.
Yeah, and so we'll lead in.
Maybe you need to learn how to use one.
Maybe, yeah. But so I've had several recurring dreams. They started in Diamond Bar. So they started after the first two experiences, I think. But the Diamond Bar one was weird because I was walking in an area that was land, and it was like I was following a deer, and it was a little grassy, a little bit of trees. It wasn't like really heavily treed area, and it was a little hilly, and there was a gully and a wooden fence, and I'm walking along, and I noticed that there's this shadow coming over, and it's like, but it's foggy. So it was kind of strange. So it was foggy, and then there's this shadow coming over in the fog. And I look up and I see a saucer craft, right? And I'm thinking, oh, okay. And then it's coming around about maybe 25 feet around me, and it's going to land. And I obviously, the being that gets out is this tall gray that I've had these experiences with, this same tall gray. And then he's pointing at me, and I didn't put this one in the book because it was troubling to me. I remember what I told you about the Vandenberg Square thing, right?
Yep.
So I had this dream. This would have been 2018, probably February timeframe, right around there when this happened. And I didn't hear about the Vandenberg Square until they had the UAP Congress hearing in 2023. Yeah. That's when that came out. But in this dream, I'm seeing coming over, and the gray is pointing at it. Look at this, and I'm hearing in my head, Kay, look at this. Great big square coming over with these lights all around the sides, red and kind of wavy down at the bottom, like it was either a magnetic field possibly down there protecting it, or the way it comes in to our atmosphere. But so, yeah. And then basically we're running for our lives. So that was the first one. And I didn't put that in the book, but I've had 1, 2, 3, 4, at least 4 or 5 more of recurring dreams where it's gotten more intense, more ships. And one was over, in my book, it's over Kansas City. And the big craft, Squarecraft comes out of this big giant rip. All these crafts are coming out of this big giant rip in the sky, portal, vortex, whatever you want to call it, but it looks like a rip. And this big giant red craft, and it's the size of a Walmart, maybe even bigger than that, and flat, not cube, but flat. And it has these weird corners on it. It can fire multiple barrage of red-like lava-looking laser shots at all the other crafts. So you've got the saucers, you've got the diamonds, you've got the triangles, you've got all these crafts, the tic tacs, the spheres, the spheres, not orbs, but spheres, actual spheres. They're all fighting this thing. And unfortunately, everything is raining down on Kansas City, and buildings are being broken, people are being crushed, and so on and so forth. Yeah. So that was one of the really, really bad ones.
Wow.
Yeah. So recurring dream.
Man, oh man, oh man, oh man, Kay.
So this is why I have problems. I get jumpy, PTSD.
Yeah,
I'm always looking around the corner. I see
I,
it.
I can
God.
understand. I can understand. Holy cow, if I had everything going on that you got going on, I think I'd just lock myself up in a box and never come back out. But then again, I don't think that's going to help you.
Oh, no, this is
They'll just
one of the
put
chief reasons I wanted to move to this property was so that I could calm and write and be with my horses and try to block all that out.
yeah.
So
Well,
far, nothing bad has happened here.
oh, well, I'll say
It's only been 3 months.
I am pretty religious. I'll say some prayers for you
Oh, thank
because,
you.
yeah.
Thank
But
you.
what's kind of ironic in this whole thing is the guy up there when you're going up on the ship is telling you to be calm, and I'm surprised you didn't tell him in your head, "Hey, easy for you to say. You're not the one on the table."
Well, I did. And one of the encounters, I was like, okay, so this is another shocking thing he said. Basically, he said, I think I said, you don't have a right to do this. And I'm sure every abductee probably spits that one out of their mouth at some point or another at their
Yeah.
captor. Okay, why are you doing this? You don't have any right to do this to me. You need to put me back. What is going on? And then they say, we do have the right, or we own you. Basically, you are ours.
Oh,
You are
wow.
ours. And and it wasn't a, um, it wasn't a yell in my head. It was a very frank
Stern.
statement, like your father would tell you, you didn't clean the garage. You are ours. Point blank, period. And it rang in my head and it rang in my head and it rang in my head. And I just succumbed to it. And I was like, oh my God. Okay. So then I asked him, and this is thought transference. This is not telepathic communication. I mean, telepathic communication is actual mind reading. I'm not able to read that mind. I don't think he's able to read my mind. They can take things out and they can put things in. And what he was doing, and I say he because that's what he seems to be, is a he. He's able to shoot these thoughts, short thoughts into my head, not complete sentences, but like, okay, calm, or this must be done, be still, stand up, sit down, just basic commands. And then you are ours. And then with that ringing in my head, I'm sitting there going, okay. So I succumb to it and I'm thinking, okay, you say I am yours, but I'm from Earth. I don't look like you. I don't have skin coloring like you. I mean, I'm thinking of all the logical things I can say as quickly as I can. I'm not yours. But then he's like, he basically said that they came, or his species helped develop the English language, our old English language. That's where it started. And that they are eons. The impression that I got is that they are eons old. They've been around a long time, and they are using us to produce a new species, a new human that has less aggression, less emotion, because apparently that's our problem. At least that's what I gathered. But anyway,
Wow.
I basically succumbed to him like he was the king and I was, the handmaiden here. And I went, okay, if you own me, what is your name? What do I call you? Because obviously this had happened already several times before we got to this point. And he said his name was, I can't even pronounce it or spell it, but basically it was so you can't even say it. So I said, can I just call you Rex? And that was okay. So that's what I put in the book. This is Rex, the tall gray.
Yeah.
But I mean, yeah, so you were ours. And it shocked me. It rang in my head. And the next day I was like searching online, searching in my books, because now I have a lot of books.
Yeah.
And I don't take the time to look at other abductee stories because I do not want to taint myself with anybody else's stuff in case this keeps going on. I want my thoughts to be as clear. I have good recall, pretty good detail, no hypnosis, no regression. I don't want it because I don't want somebody sitting there saying, oh, well, while you're in there, did you see this? Because I don't want somebody trying to mislead me. So I don't trust that at all. But I'm sitting there and I'm thinking, I got to research this because there's other people out there who say they're having that same thing, that basically they're brought to Earth, and maybe it's the light being thing, but they know they've been brought to Earth. They know they were on some sort of other place and that they chose to be here. And I'm thinking, I don't remember choosing to be here at all. But so you gotta look at this stuff, and I don't look at it with a grain of salt. I look at it very seriously. I'm constantly looking for books.
I've got a interview coming up in a few weeks with Nancy Thames, and she that's her theory on it too, is that we all chose to be here. She's got a different way of looking at it than you do, but I am definitely, this is not my expertise, but I'm digging, everything you're saying. And honestly, if I think an abduction was going to happen, yours sounds like the way it would happen. I don't know. In my mind, it doesn't seem like it would be all rosy and flowery. It seems like it'd be a little bit scary and like, what the hell is this all for? So. Wow. Well, Kay, I wanna go ahead and shut it down for tonight. But before we get off of here, is there anything you want to share or promote? And I know you got the books, and you want to give one more time the names and where people can get them.
Sure. So you can get Into the Gray's Abyss on Amazon.com and Barnes and Noble, and it will be available for a while yet. But as soon as I get the book split up into 2 volumes and then I get the 3rd book out, that'll probably be roughly October by the time that's all done. So all 3 of them will be out by then.
Very cool.
And I haven't titled the 3rd one yet. I'm still working on that.
All right. Hey, you got time. You got till October.
Yep. Got time.
So, man, oh man. Kay, I can only say one thing. Wow. I'm blown away. And I just want to let you know, I believe everything you said tonight, and now I'm going to be scared to go to sleep. Thanks. I'm going to be like, but I sure appreciate you coming on the show. And trust me, when I'm smiling and giggling, I am not making fun of you, because there was points to where I was literally getting goosebumps when you were talking. And I'm not joking. I was getting goosebumps when you were talking. So, but I just want to say thank you from the bottom of my heart for coming on and sharing your encounters and your story. And thank you for coming on the Cryptid Quest Podcast.
My pleasure. All
right. Well, everybody out there in Cryptid Land, keep it creepy. Well, you enjoy the rest of your evening. Thank you again.
You too, Patrick. Thanks.
All right. Bye-bye.
Yeah, out in the woods where the shadows creep, I'm trying to find the legend that the people keep. Bigfoot's the name, got a story to tell. Footprints in the mud, can't you hear the bell? Whispers in the night, can you feel that chill? Bigfoot on the run, he's a legend, keep it real. Bigfoot, yeah, he's the talk of the town. Creeping through the trees, never wearing a frown. Legend of the forest, he's got a big stride. As the trap beats thump, you know he's got pride. Like I'm on a quest, searching for the homie, you know he's the best. Got my camera ready, heightened senses on blast. Snap a shot of Sasquatch, legend unsurpassed. Eyes in the dark, you can't catch what you can't see. King of the woods, living wild and free. Bigfoot, yeah, he's the talk of the town. Creeping through the trees, he's never wearing a frown. Legend of the forest, he's got a big stride. As the trap beats thump, you know he's got pride.